Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick Akio, and welcome to the Leadership Track. I'm here with Michał Buczko, and we're going to start off with his talk after 15 years of being in the software testing industry. He's going to give us a personal retrospective. Have fun, Michał.
Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be the part of the conference. It's sad that it's online because every year I was loving visiting Vilna and giving the presentations in the venue. At some point I thought to myself that I'm a long time inside the software testing industry. So basically like 15 years, it's a very, very long time. I spent most of my career in Wrocław, in Poland. But some of them, there were episodes that then I was working in a different cities inside Poland or in different cities, even outside in the EU. And yeah, as you can see, in those 15 years, I was working in over 20 different companies. I had more than 10 roles. I believe that it is a lot more right now. But I would say that like 10 of them are the roles connected directly with software testing. The rest of them were something different, something outside of the testing itself. But it's been a long journey, and it has been a lot of fun. I have to say, one more time, the current state where I'm working right now, it's I'm part of the Wisman Research and Development Center in Wrocław. I'm working as a quality manager, so it's again a step a little bit outside of the straight testing itself. In quality management, we are monitoring and managing the projects from like the high level overview perspective. We do the KPIs and dashboards for those deliveries, and we monitor them, but we don't only focus on testing itself. We also do it from the product ownership perspective, from Scrum Master perspective, from development perspective. And to be honest, when I was preparing the slides, it turns out that in the IT industry, when I connect the software testing roles and the roles from outside of the software testing, it's almost 20 years. When I was writing the proposal, I was thinking it's 15, but now I feel like soon, like I think in April next year, it will be 20. So to give you a little bit of the context about my history and about my career itself, to see where I'm just starting the perspective from. That's the list of the roles. So when I was planning my career and when I was living it through all those years, I started as a tester. It was a really funny story. So I was in interview in Nokia. At that time, it was not called Nokia, but Siemens. And I had an interview with my future managers, and they asked me, what do I know about the telecommunication and about the mobile phones? And to be honest, I was just in the middle of my studies, and I had no idea about the telecommunication itself, because I was studying like theoretical information technologies. And I said to them, I know that there's a mobile device. I know that there's a green icon to answer the phone, and the red one to disconnect a call, and that's basically it. And to be honest, the funny thing happened that I got hired as a tester, so that was my first testing role that I did. Later, during that organization and during different ones, I had the opportunity to be the Scrum Master. for a team. I was also a test manager, a team leader, a QA leader, a line manager for a department. I worked as a consultant. I worked as a product owner proxy, as a product delivery owner. Yeah, the highest role I get was like a C-level chief testing officer for a company that was mostly focused on testing services and testing testing for different projects. And currently, I'm a quality manager. So I did a little bit of different perspectives. And I feel like currently in my current job, it gives me a lot of benefits, because when I discuss something with other line managers or with Scrum Masters or with the product owners, I understand their perspective, because that was something that I had been working, and it makes a lot of discussions a lot easier. In terms of the domains in which I worked in, as I said, I started in telecommunication. Then I moved for some time to work for different software houses. I was also working in startups, but that was mostly outside of Poland. Then again, I went back to industrial projects with for different industries. Like now, I'm doing industrial project for heating devices. I spent a little bit of time in outsourcing testing services. I was also involved in building a product from a startup perspective to a mature level. I was doing consulting, and I'm still doing consulting for different companies. For some time, I was managing an innovation studio. That was something very, very fun, to be honest. I worked also in service-oriented organizations, so not like software houses when you have the full delivery of the project, but in service-oriented, we were only doing like testing activities, for example, and we were not having any other roles inside of our organization. And I also had a few years adventure in automotive, so I also learned how autonomous cars are built and how the testing looks like inside of this sector. The situations that I like, just in a few points to highlight when I was preparing the roadmap of the career. Yeah, I got fired a few times. It's not like every time I was switching my job or switching a company that I was working with. It was only because there was a headhunter recruiting me, or an opportunity behind the corner. There were some situations when I got fired, sometimes individually, sometimes as a part of the projects. I had the opportunity, or have the opportunity, to work in the past and currently with some of the bosses that I met in previous companies. So it's not always like starting from scratch. Sometimes I was just directly contacted with somebody who was a manager of the company, and he remembers that a few years ago I was working with him in a different company. I was doing my job good enough that he wanted to reach out to me and give me a new opportunity, for example. So this will be something that I will also give you some insights how you can try to build that image in the heads of your managers. And yeah, one of the things that I still do, because at some point I went back to the consulting activities. I also try to keep in contact with the past companies that I worked with. There's almost 20 of them, so it's a long list, but I try to, whenever I have the time, I try to reach out to the people that were managing me in the past, talking with them about their current situation, and if there is opportunity that I can help them as a consulting service, or as just a small meeting or doing a presentation for them on site. I'm always open to do that, and I think this is also a beneficial part for me and for that company. To give you a historical context, yeah, most of my career I spent in Wrocław in Poland. It started a little bit before 2005, but 2005 was the year for which I found the first data about the IT sector in Wrocław directly. So basically, it was a very small sector during that time in Wrocław. All the studies that were connected with information technologies was just focused on building a programmers. So there was no dedicated programs for testers or for business analytics or project managers. Basically, during that time, if you were studying information technology, you were studying to be a good programmer. Inside Wrocław, there were only three fully IT-oriented international companies. It was Volvo IT, it was Siemens, and it was, I think it was called Computerland. And basically, the whole Wrocław IT sector was between 200 and 500 people. And from the studies perspective, it was around 500 IT studies graduates yearly. And we had no startups, we had no, how to call it, we had no processes or no approach as a city or as a Poland, as a country to support startups or to help any small organization to build from scratch during that time. It was a tough challenge. Basically, it was tough to get a job in IT during that time, and it was tough to find any different organization that those three that was there at the beginning. And to show you how this changed on the basis on Poland or Wrocław, basically currently still you see here the data is from 3 years behind, but it's only growing. But you can see how big is the growth. In Wrocław, Poland, we have a huge IT sector right now. So we have a dedicated IT studies for all the roles that you can find in different companies: testers, analytics, architects. I think project management for sure. I think there are dedicated studies or trainings for Scrum Masters. While you are doing the studies in the IT, you can choose the path to learn more on the testing side or to prepare yourself straight for the level of being an architect instead of developer, for example. But this is something that is a good first step for all those students to choose the path. We have over 120 IT oriented international companies in Wrocław itself. So we moved from 3 of them to 120. We moved from between 200 and 500 people working in IT to over 36,000 people working in IT. That's like a huge growth. The number of graduates, like from a few hundreds to 15,000 graduates inside the IT domain on a yearly basis. Basically, there's like I think in Wrocław, there is like 5 or 6 different public and private universities, and all of them have multiple IT-related paths to learn from, to prepare yourself to be working in IT. And then there's like the side companies that are doing directly the trainings or helping people to change their career path from a different career to go straight to the IT through like weekly or monthly training camps. We've got over 200 registered startups in Wrocław agglomeration. We have a dedicated platform for that. We've got dedicated offices for those startups. So it's also a lot easier to build that startup in Wrocław. And in the bottom, you can see like there's the list of how every year there was multiple new companies. And this is only the companies that are international, that was either building an office or deploying an office straight in Wrocław. So this is how the sector grew, and this is how it made it possible for example, for me to go through almost 20 companies and then never go back to the same company that I was working with in the past. The number of organizations, the number of possibilities, basically I feel it's almost endless because of the number of startups. There's always a new option that you can try out. Yeah, and the lessons. What are the lessons that I learned during that 15 years? So the first lesson that I had is that sometimes you get fired. That was the biggest lesson for me because I think I spent like 3 years in Siemens, almost 4, and when I moved out from it, I was only getting to the bigger company, and I was feeling like I'm on the top of the world, and every new company or new project will be only better, and I will always exceed the expectations of my managers. That's not true. So basically, different companies have different expectations, and sometimes it's easier for you to build an image that you can handle anything during the interview, and then suddenly you are pushed to a project when everything you have to learn from scratch, and sometimes you don't have the time, and sometimes you just make some mistakes, and sometimes some of the organizations are not supporting the learning process, basically. And sometimes they are just firing the people that don't meet the expectations, and I feel you need to be open for that, and you shouldn't be getting sad or feeling bad about it. You just should accept it, and you need to find a way how to learn from it. So basically, even if I had a situation when I got fired, I always reach out to my managers and ask them for as detailed feedback as possible, to give me all the information about what was the reason, why they were not happy with my performance, or why they were not happy with the results of the projects they assigned me in, because this is something that helps you to find a better path for yourself in the future. I can give you an example. One of the first situations when I got fired by a company happened when I was first time assigned a role of test manager. So basically, I joined a totally new project. I was supposed to be a test manager of the team in one of the offices of that company. And one of the things that I did was I was critical about the approach that we had to testing and about the processes that we were using in testing. And I was promising to all my teammates that when I became fully operational test manager, I will change the approach, and I will change all the way how we are implementing testing in the projects. And basically, I never became the fully operational test manager. The company decided that they want to do all the things the way they did before, and the manager that I was cooperating with decided to get me fired, and to search for a better candidate. And one of the things that I learned from it was that I had no idea how the change management implementation looked like. So I was feeling that this is the best approach, to just be open and vocal about what I don't like about the current setup in the projects. And I didn't prepare anybody, both my team and my managers, to the changes that I want to apply. And basically that destroyed the whole communication and the whole trust that we had in each other. So I feel that this is something that is really good if the company is giving you a totally honest and full feedback, because this was one of the aspects that a little bit earlier, when I just had my head around this, that I got fired, I asked them about the feedback. They gave me all the data and they gave me all the reasons. And that was the moment when I understand what was the mistakes that I made. One other situation when I also got fired, when I get the feedback, it was saying just basically, it's not connected with you directly. It was connected because your project got stopped, and we had no budgeting and no roadmap for additional projects for you. So they gave me an honest opinion about how they felt about my work, and they said it was only a decision made on budgeting and project assignment situation. So this is something that also helped me to wrap my head around it, what just happened, and why suddenly I need to search for a new company. One of the things that I also want to mention, if somebody of you are just starting your career in IT, or are switching to the IT and visiting also the conferences, IT sector is a lot bigger than developers and testers. It's a lot bigger than developers, testers, and project managers. There is a huge amount of different IT related positions that you can have in IT. There are the business analytics, there are beta testers, there are customer support roles, there's the whole part of infrastructure, DevOps, and others. So if you're learning inside the IT, prepare for yourself your path, what you want to achieve, and what is your goal as a role or as a sector in which you would like to work on. This is very important because this allows you to also prepare a learning plan for yourself, or you can then choose from different opportunities which one goes together with your plan for yourself. Also in Poland, it's very popular that there are many people doing the trainings to move from a different job directly to the IT. And most of those people are always thinking about boot camps for testers or boot camps for developers and going to one of those two roles. And I feel it's not always the optimal solution. In few of the software houses, for example, that I worked with, we had a mentoring program for people that were working in not IT related position to transfer them to IT. And it was very funny because it was like open for the girls working at the reception, or the boys or girls that were working in HR, or that was working as an assistant for one of the executives, for example. And the funny thing was that basically they had access to all those project managers, to all those testers and developers. And very often it was a lot easier for them to learn how the project management or how the project delivery was being executed inside that company, even while working as a marketing specialist or employer branding specialist in our company. Then those boot camps or studies were preparing them for being a tester or being a developer. Basically, they get almost unlimited access to the mentors. They discuss with one of the architects or one of the developers or one of the testers that they want to learn to move to the testing position maybe in 3 or 6 months, and we are cooperating about building the solution. So if you want to move to the IT sector, it doesn't have to always be as a movement to the IT related position. You can try to hire yourself in a non-IT position and still try to build your path inside. In terms of already people working in IT, if you are a tester or you're a developer, it doesn't mean that you will always go only in the career path of a tester or the developer. There is always an opportunity to switch the plan. Just spend some time with yourself. Think about it. What do you want to do? how do you want to do it, and then find a mentor for yourself. Build like a mentoring pair, and learn from each other. It's the best approach. We do it very often in Visman, and I feel like that's the best benefit that you can get. You as a mentee expand your knowledge, and the people that is your mentor, they are gaining totally new experience. I love being a mentor because this allows me to see my current position or my current assignments from a totally different perspective. Yeah, one of the things that I learned also, there's a huge difference between the product companies and the software houses. I could add here also the startups. Basically, there's a different set of roles. There's a different culture. There's a different work attitude. I feel like in Poland, in product, it's a lot more easygoing, and in the software houses, there's a lot more focus on delivering the services or delivering the software for the customer. And there's a lot more focus on the estimates, how accurate they are, how predictable we are in delivery. There's a different set of processes being defined and applied, and there's totally different communication and cooperation. Because when you are doing a product, you're usually thinking in communication or cooperation with customers, you are thinking about users. But if you are working in a software house, usually it's the customer buying the software from you before moving that software to the users. And if you are thinking about switching a company or getting a new opportunity, I think you need to, if there's a switch between a product company or a software house, you need to take that under consideration. There's a lot of people that like working in product but hate working in software houses. There's a lot of people that do quite the opposite. To be honest, in my career, I have had and currently have like a different feelings. Like there are some moments in my career when I was working for a few years in product organization, and I decided I'm missing the process approach and the pressure that I had in software houses. And then when I was switching my job, I was moving to the software houses. But after a few years, sometimes I was really fed up about this running with your project constantly atmosphere. And I decided to move back to the product organization. Every time you are preparing for a new job opportunity or job interview, you need to mind that there are two different attitudes, and you need to prepare yourself to both of those perspectives. When you are joining a new company, I feel that the first thing you need to focus on, from my personal retrospective, is to build your position in teams and inside the organization. If you are joining that team as an expert, try to build the relations, try to build your position, show your experience to those teams, because then it makes a lot easier and better to work with that teams and with that organization. Because when you get that how to call it, like that perspective that the team will be seeing you as an expert, you automatically gain their trust. And every time it has the situation that every time they will be struggling with something, they will reach out to you. But all the ideas or improvements that you would like to propose to them and show to them will be a lot easier to be presented and to be really thought and decided if we want to proceed them or not. If you don't build that position, Every time you will try to change something in that company or in their project, you will get a response that they were doing always this way, and maybe they feel good about it and they don't want to change it. But if they treat you as an expert and you propose another approach, it's a lot easier to at least start the conversation, to start the discussion, and maybe propose to them a different team setup or a different part of testing to be introduced, or switching the responsibilities of some processes or some tasks from testers to developers, like presenting them the shift left approach, or introducing the API testing, or introducing an automation on different layers. And to do all of that, so to implement or at least propose the improvements, you need to be open to first show your skills, so to build your expertise about it. Every time you want to propose something, you need to do the research, you need to give them the materials to study and give them some ideas to think about. Don't rush it, be patient. Like I said, the change management is crucial here. But two very important things are, you need to remember about the leadership and you need to remember about the ownership. So every time you are proposing some improvements, every time you are trying to reach out with them with some new idea, you need to be ready to be the leader and to be the owner of that change. It doesn't end with just proposing them a different team setup and then leaving the scrum master or a line manager with, now when you know how to split the teams, just split them and let me know about the results. You need to work with them about it. You need to be the owner of that change. You need to be the owner of the proposal that you are making. And what I learned also during those years, the space between the assignment can save your mental state. Every time, if you are leaving a company or you are joining a new company, you need to remember that somewhere in your head there is a lot of problems, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and you need to handle that. The best way that I can propose to you is to remember to make the gaps between joining different companies. So what I'm sometimes doing, if I got like a 1 month notice period in my current job, when I'm going to an interview to the different company, I tell them that I got 3 months notice period. And I said to them that maybe there will be possibility to limit that time to just 2 months. But still, in the back of my head, I'm having like a 1 month gap between those projects. This 1 month can be crucial. You have the time for your family, you have the time for your side hobbies, you have the time for anything else. I have to say that in many situations, I read about different solutions that are being proposed in UK or in Western Europe about wellness weeks and 4-week working period, 4 days working period. This doesn't happen in Poland. In Poland, we get 40 days of business hours, and if there are overtime hours, it's even sometimes getting doubled. And we are a lot of problems with being just basically tired, and this space between the projects, space between the organizations, this can be something great for you. Another thing, think about the company that you want to work with as your dream company. If you define a goal for yourself, that my dream company, maybe it doesn't have to be a name, maybe it doesn't have to be a specific like Amazon, but maybe you can think about that you want to work in automotive or autonomous cars, or you want to work in industrial projects, or you want to work with being an expert in a startup. And every decision you make on the path try to do it that every change should bring you closer to your goal or to your dream. If you want to work in financial services, maybe it won't be easy to go to the Boston Consulting Group from as your third or fourth organization, but maybe every time you will be switching your job, you need to make sure that this will be somewhere close to maybe the doing the consulting or doing the something with the connection with startups or with the financial services or something else. The tooling, there is a lot of presentations on many different conferences about a next big tool. There was a time of Protractor, there is a Cypress, there is a Playwright right now, there was Selenium at some stage. My personal approach is that tools appear and disappear. So basically there is like I think now it's multiple different CI CD environments, and every year there's a new one. I believe that each one of them makes the world a little bit better. But I don't focus in my work on just learning a new tool and being the best expert in Wrocław in that tool. If I need to use that tool for the benefit of my projects, I learn how I should use it, but I don't make it like a space of my expertise. The things that I try to focus more is the techniques and approach, how we can, for example, do software development. Because those models exist, I don't know, 20, 30 years right now, and there's always some projects that are using one of those models. Also, it doesn't mean that you are forced to be agile or your project will die. So I was introduced to the Scrum and Agile in my first company in Siemens. I was a Scrum Master also in my first company in Siemens. But in the last, I would say, 5 years, I was working in more V models than Agile delivery. Or there was a combination of having a V model on a program level or a product level. And there was a small incremental model connected with Agile development somewhere on the very low layer of a single component, for example, or a single module. And I feel that there's a lot of benefit if you are knowing all those models and you know the differences behind them, because it's a lot easier for you to support the teams in transforming the approach between those models. And the tools are only supporting that, but the main idea is to understand the difference between those models and to be able to present the benefits to those teams behind the change if it's applied. You need to remember that some sectors are very hard to leave. So basically, when I started, I was in Siemens in telecommunication, and I decided to leave Siemens after 3 years of working there. And it took me 9 months to find a company that was believing in my expertise as a tester, not an expertise as a telecommunication expert. And this is something that you need to have in your mind, that sometimes if you move to automotive or if you move to financial services, some of the experience you get will be very specific, only connected with that sector, and it will be not beneficial for companies working in a totally different sectors. Some of those sectors have a lot of compliance standards and processes, like in automotive, like in online payments and other stuff. That is something that when you are preparing your career path, you need to understand if the goal that you are reaching out to is really connected with those compliances. If yes, then plan your trainings in some norms or in some processes how to handle those problems. And always be proactive. If there's something that you can help a team, your team, a different team with, be open about it, be engaged for the chosen challenge. Don't turn off just because there is a problem because you are working from home, not from the office, so it's a harder communication gap. Don't be disconnected or separated, and don't focus only on your team and only focus on your remote office. Try to always be connected with the whole company. I'm happy to connect with everybody on LinkedIn. If you're interested to reach out to me, this is the social media that I use the most. Here is the QR code that you can scan with your mobile phone, and you will get directly to my LinkedIn profile. Please, if you want to, just invite me to the network and reach out with anything that you need to or want to speak about. I will slowly move to those question and answers part. So the first question I see in the chat is, isn't it better to first analyze why people are using other approaches in a new company first before proposing improvements? Maybe there's a reason why they are doing it differently and went a hard way to go there. Yeah, that's a tricky question, to be honest, because I know some companies that they allow a new hire to, for example, to observe everything for the first month or two, and then just try to propose optimizations or propose a new ideas and to challenge the situation that exists in that situation. Because basically very often those new hirings have a totally different approach, and I feel that there should be always a possibility to start that discussion. So I think it's good that you can observe and note down where do you see a space for improvement, and then after first month or 2 months, just ask the team about why you are doing it this way, because sometimes maybe they will show you their perspective and they will convince you that this is the best approach. But many times it might be that it was always done this way and nobody thought about changing the approach, for example. The second question, do you think it's important to have a career plan for the future, and why? Yeah, I believe that this is very important thing. I'm doing like a self-retrospectives almost every year, just to make sure how or where am I in my current plan, and I'm reviewing the plan every 3 years. So I try to build a plan for myself for the next 5 years, and every 3 years. So when I should be behind the half of my plan. I'm double checking if I'm going the right way. You can see that there's a lot of companies in my CV. One of the reasons is that I was trying to get the experience in as many sectors as possible. But the second thing is, sometimes even if you like the project that you're working with, sometimes you realize that you were expecting it will be connected with your career plan for the next 5 years. And after 2 years, you see that it's going a different approach. Maybe you need to change the plan, but maybe if you want to keep or stick to the plan, then you need to again change the projects or change the company. You mentioned that people should choose a company goal for themselves. What's your goal in a company right now? Yeah, so when I was joining Visman, I wanted to move back to the product-oriented organizations. So that was first reason. I like to work back again with the industrial projects, and that was the reason why I chose Visman itself. And yeah, and the opportunity was connected with the quality management. And I wanted to move out from the testing itself, but I didn't see myself in a role of Scrum Master or a product owner. And I was looking for something totally different. And I felt that There is something like a quality management for factories introduced in many different sectors. And I was thinking about if it's possible to have something like quality management for software. And Wisman was also thinking about if it's possible to have something like a quality management for software. And we decided to make an experiment out of it. And I feel like after a year doing that, there's a lot of things that I want to still experiment with. So in Wisman, we decided that we'll be focused ourselves mostly in KPIs and dashboards. And most of the trainings that I'm doing is about different KPIs for different roles in IT, in project deliveries. And we are trying how many of those KPIs and dashboards can be automated. So we are not focusing on automating the testing itself, for example, but we are focusing on automating a metric that can give us a traceability matrix with between requirements and tests, or can automate for us the calculation how far we are in implementing the automation itself in different projects or in a whole departments. I think that I will not have the time to answer other questions because we are already on time. So thank you
Yeah.
very much for the presentations, and I'm happy to answer your questions when you reach out to me on LinkedIn or directly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Michał. I love the presentation. Love about your stories on mental health, learning from each other, finding a mentor, and how the IT sector is more than just testing and developing. I think a lot of people had a lot of good learnings from this. So thank you so much. We're going to round it off here, people. We'll be back in 15 minutes with the leadership track. So see you in a bit.